Alright, so first off, let me start out this video called MGS2 was wrong, actually, with the fact that MGS2 was right about a lot of things. Between internet isolationism, the Patriot Act, content being served to you algorithmically, an internet that's flooded with inflammatory rhetorical arguments, a mass epidemic of misrepresentation of facts, or even outright lies, PSYOP campaigns designed to spin public opinion or skew populace's understanding of particular issues, the swelling of egos and enabling of main character syndrome as a direct result of the even playing field that the internet represents. Metal Gear Solid 2 saw a lot of these trends and potential pitfalls of the digital age, and showcased their logical conclusions with a frankly uncanny level of precision. It just plain feels like this game was written today, and not in the year 2000. Or at least, that's what I would be saying if we were still in 2021. See, the core narrative that all of MGS2 revolves around is this AI called GW, who has seen how subjective our recounting of history has become in the internet age. Every important event of humanity is documented from hundreds of uniquely biased perspectives, and so GW decides that it needs to act as a gatekeeper of sorts. It sets out to filter the little pieces of truth out of essentially everything on the internet, and compile a definitive truth that all of humanity would be able to agree upon. This sounds like a pretty noble purpose in isolation, but the reality is that by robbing humanity of its ability to write its own history, GW would rob us of any long-lasting value to our individuality and, indeed, our sentience. Art that GW deemed inflammatory wouldn't be allowed to persist. Essays that were written as important calls to action rather than definitive, unbiased documentation wouldn't ever see the light of day. We would essentially be robbed of all personal freedoms, and we would be made slaves to objectivity, essentially becoming an ant farm only allowed to exist in the shallow pond that was GW's perception of reality. Highly subjective videos like mine wouldn't be allowed to exist. Now, in a way, there is a lot of that in the real world today. However, there's no veneer of nobility and purpose with the AIs that attempt to control our perception of reality. Do you remember a few years ago when Facebook changed their name to Meta? Well, they said it was because they were shifting their focus entirely to the metaverse. But it was also an incredibly convenient time for them to change their name and branding. See, a few months before that, there was a huge controversy with Facebook. It turns out that Facebook, according to a whistleblower, had been feeding people deliberately enraging posts in order to keep people engaged and stop them from logging off. This seems like just a more mean-spirited version of the algorithm that made YouTube recommend you this very video, right? Well, it goes a little bit deeper than that. A whistleblower at Facebook attested that these algorithms played a major factor in the terrorist attack on the Capitol building on January 6th. See, if Facebook knew that you were a Donald Trump supporter, they would go out of their way to feed you post after post of people claiming that Biden rigged the election and that therefore Trump taking a second contiguous term as president was the only way to ensure the continuity of democracy. Naturally, a lot of people who had voted for Trump were shown post after post, day after day, telling them over and over again that their vote was essentially thrown in the trash, and the Facebook whistleblower speculated that this was one of the core components that led to the organization of the January 6th insurrectionists. So, while in MGS2's terms, the AI was supposed to be guiding humanity to objective truths, in the real world, the AI was simply trying to keep people scrolling and seeing advertisements, and it may very well have enabled one of the most impactful moments in United States history as a side effect of its mission. However, that was all just a few years ago, back when I would have said MGS2 was right on the money with its predictions for our future. Now, things are a little bit different. The images that come to mind when one thinks of how AI affects their life are very different in 2024 than they were back in 2021. Back then, all the conversation was centered around social media and search algorithms, self-driving cars, autonomous weapons, and the occasional Skynet doomer talking about an AI that eventually rewrites its own code. Nowadays, well,
you Welcome to Leadhead, where we dive into the most groundbreaking topics of our time. Today, we're exploring the incredible world of AI and why it's the best thing ever. AI is not just a buzzword, it's transforming industries at an unprecedented pace. From healthcare to finance, AI is revolutionizing the way we work and live.
AI is a game changer. It analyzes vast amounts of data, making predictions and decisions faster and more accurately than ever before.
AI isn't just about efficiency, it's sparking creativity and innovation. Artists and musicians are using AI to push the boundaries of what's possible.
See, when GW is describing its fears about the spread of misinformation, it's focused solely on how humans are spreading misinformation at a rate that could cripple our entire species.
But in the current digitized world, trivial information is accumulating every second, preserved in all its triteness, never fading, always accessible.
While, yes, you could totally say that that's true, and I think almost everyone would agree to a certain degree nowadays, misinformation is being spread by the AIs themselves more than anything else, it seems. Again, there isn't some malevolent objective here in the AI's behavior. It all goes back to Facebook's algorithm. Every bit of it is just designed to produce clicks, engagement, and to generate pennies worth of ad revenue tens of thousands of times over. I'm pretty sure anybody who Googles things from time to time has noticed a rise in AI-generated news articles, all search engine optimized to appear above the actual human-written posts that they're sourcing all of their information from. Most recently for me, I was looking up a guide on a particular side mission in Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name, when I noticed an uncanny detail in how the guide was written. Gotta Catch 'em Balls is a request in Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name, that players can initiate upon reaching Chapter 3. To complete this request, fans must obtain 7 gold balls, some of which can be quite tricky to locate. Now, I can't say for sure if William Parks is a real person or not, but he sure writes like an AI. And all the info I could find on him online also reads like it was AI authored. It's the way that the word players and fans are used in these guides that really catches my eye. Fans must obtain several golden balls. Players may struggle to find several of the gold balls. I'll tell you what this is. It's that this guide is written like a news report. Like, William Parks isn't here explaining where to find the gold balls, he's reporting on the fact that the balls can be found in these locations. It's little things like this that make these AI-generated articles feel so uncanny. And, of course, lots of the information in this guide is incredibly vague, and to actually find all 7 balls, I wound up having to cross-reference this guide with the forum post that it seems to have been getting its information from. Let me just say right now, William Parks, I'm very sorry if you're a real person. All of this must seem incredibly rude and mean-spirited. But man, I'm pretty sure you don't exist. Isn't this all just creepy and sinister feeling? This is just a harmless little guide for a Yakuza sub-story, but this is like the definition of junk data. The same kind of junk data that GW was so afraid of. However, let's see what happens when we apply this to something a little bit more important than my Yakuza Platinum trophies. NewsGuard has compiled a list of nearly 600 news websites that publish AI-generated articles. Browsing through them, I found articles encouraging people to invest in crypto or NFTs, saying that they aren't an incredibly volatile and chaotic market on dailyheadliner.news, essentially just preying on gambling addicts. I've found misinformation about a medical condition that I myself suffer from, Alice in Wonderland syndrome, on medicaloutliner.com. I found an article on time.news, a particularly egregious domain name, which was essentially stating, assuming I'm understanding the intent through the haze of broken English, that Trump was now 100% certain to win the presidency because he won the Ohio Republican primary. I found another particularly baffling headline on time.news stating, there's no way that, which seems to be shaped like an article about a common grammatical error, but both the erroneous version of the phrase and the correct version of the phrase were the exact same.
I hear it's amazing when the famous purple stuffed worm in Flapjaw Space with the tuning fork does a raw blink on Harry Carry Rock. I need scissors. 61.
By the way, all of those articles, save for the one about Alice in Wonderland syndrome, were published today, and at the time of writing, it's not even 5 p.m. The most egregious example of an AI-written article that I could find was from December 7th, 2023. Seychelles goes kaboom as state of emergency kicks in. Chaos, prepare to make your grand entrance. Published by the ever-irreverent news.dailyheadliner.com. The real-life story is that on December 7th, an explosion occurred at an explosives depot on the island of Mahé in Seychelles, injuring 178 people, and a state of emergency was declared for a day. This article describes scenes of doctors performing vaudeville comedy acts as they operate on the victims, and a comedy group launching a new stage play titled The Blast That Launched 1,000 Giggles, which allegedly had already sold tons and tons of tickets when the article was written on December 7th, hours after the explosion took place. The article concludes that now would be a great time to visit Seychelles because, and I quote, an explosion-filled adventure awaits you in paradise. Worth noting is that the article never actually specified what happened, just that there was an explosion, and supposedly everybody thought it was super funny. I had to research it myself to find out about the 2023 Mahé explosion, and its 178 victims. Needless to say, there was nothing about laughter on any other news websites. What the fuck? No, I mean, seriously, what the actual fuck? I'd been looking for a super inflammatory, politically charged article making false claims about Biden stealing the election or how vaccines cause autism or something, because that would slot in really well with the general narrative and themes of this video. But this just takes the cake. I was utterly floored by this article. I'll link it below along with the other articles I've mentioned. I genuinely encourage you to read this one if you just want to feel like you're in a weird dream for a minute. However, the point I've been making since the very beginning is that this system doesn't care when it's dangerous. It doesn't care if the information it's putting out there is true or false. All it needs to do is exist, and it's generating revenue simply by taking up space on Google. It's just that sometimes, like in this article saying that Joe Biden is dead, or this article saying that a US Navy training video about cooperating with gender nonconforming peers is an example of grooming and coaching, dangerous misinformation is just what it randomly decides to put out there sometimes. So yeah, this stuff has the potential to cause some serious harm in the world. It's no different than Facebook allegedly goading would-be insurrectionists leading up to January 6th. It's just even sneakier, even more soulless, and even more pervasive. And as always, it exists exclusively to generate those precious pennies of ad revenue. Usually, typing in the URLs for these websites will send you down a wild rabbit hole of tracker links before ultimately spitting you out on their hollow, soulless homepage, filled to the brim with automated advertisements. However, I'm not somebody who keeps up with the news much. This stuff doesn't really affect my personal experience with the internet too much. But one other corner of the internet that has really felt the sting of this trend is social media. Let's talk about the zombification of Twitter. Here's a post that went incredibly viral from an account called Historic Vids about how people sound when they speak in Kazakh, or as this account calls it, the Kazakhstan language. Take a listen. No, we didn't get muted by YouTube's copyright bots. This video on a post about sound just straight up doesn't have audio. Okay, maybe Historic Vids just messed up and didn't bother fixing the tweet. However, this post has 24.2 thousand likes, almost 1,000 retweets, which led it to getting over 33 million views. Okay, maybe Historic Vids' gaffe was just funny to a lot of people and the post went viral naturally. Well, let's look at some of the comments on this post. Haha, the sound of the Kazakhstan language revving up is unforgettable. It's difficult to learn and speak. Yes, it's very difficult to learn and speak. OMG, I can't even pronounce these words, let alone understand them. We are too tired all the time listen this language at Kazakhstan. Wow, the Kazakhstan language sounds like my old car struggling to start on a cold morning. That's diesel engine trying to start. Russian language is easy to understand and learn. Hilarious. I can almost imagine the diesel engine struggles. You get the idea. Originally, there was a community note attached to this post saying something about how this news anchor was just doing tongue twisters as a vocal warm-up. I get the feeling that this note too was AI generated because, as the current community note reminds us, this video has no sound. That's just one little example, but it's very uncanny to see hundreds, maybe thousands of bots all rallying together to help generate clicks on a broken, nonsensical, and vaguely racist post just for the sake of generating a presumably very small amount of engagement revenue. And this sort of thing is going on in the replies of every viral post. Whether it was made viral by humans or bots is completely irrelevant. Then, of course, you've got the YouTube comments. Here's a screenshot on some comments on a trans voice lessons video. Or the AI-generated YouTube content that pretty much overtly just plagiarizes other channels. Sometimes AI channels plagiarize other AI channels and so on and so forth. Every reply section in every vaguely popular social media post is filled with empty, meaningless comments like those above. Keep an eye out for people who just post a couple emojis. These are either bots or people who bought into the X Premium as a side hustle thing so hard that they started using Twitter as if they were bots, leaving meaningless replies on every post they can just to drive the pettiest engagement imaginable for the slim chance of making back a return on their monthly investment of $8 or however much Twitter Premium costs. I'm starting to talk in circles a little bit, but what we wind up with are two different layers to the internet. We've got one level where people are just communicating, sharing ideas, arguing, and sometimes being incredibly shitty to each other. That's the layer I'm on right now. And then we've got this new layer just above the humans, where hundreds of thousands of data sorting algorithms are essentially attempting to play out a generalized recreation of the lives that we lead down below them, talking to each other with all the depth of two Sims arguing in Simlish, carefully picking key words that the other bots will recognize as relevant and will then reply to themselves, driving further artificial engagement so that more bot accounts will see these posts, thus generating revenue from other bots whose sole function is to serve AI-generated advertisements to humans. It's a little hilarious when you think about it like that. The main financial function of Twitter, and indeed most social media websites, is to simply give social media bots an environment in which they can trick advertising bots into giving them money by generating meaningless statistics about how many non-sentient entities have been influenced by their AI-generated advertisements. It's completely insane. However, setting aside the absolute absurdity of the situation, it's important to remember that this is 100% a bad thing for humanity. A few thousand people have set up a system to essentially destroy and distort all of our primary lines of communication and the free exchange of ideas in order to siphon money out of a system that has always existed in an area of, let's say, dubious credibility. The dawn of the internet is when the information age truly earned its name, and just as GW feared, it feels like we're entering a new age. The misinformation age, the junk data age, the tracker age. I don't know what we'll ultimately end up calling this new age, but GW's biggest fear was that humans would turn the free exchange of ideas into a burden on the clarity of the narrative of our species. As it turns out, the AIs themselves were the ones that GW should have been worried about. Not because they have any malicious intent towards our understanding of the world, but because blurring the lines of the text of history just so happened to be the easiest way to automate getting a monthly paycheck from Silicon Valley. Hey y'all, sorry I'm filming today's patron read in the laziest way possible. This video has just been a big, lot of things getting in the way of it, a lot of technical issues and that sort of thing. And it's like almost midnight and I just want to be done with this, so we're doing it quickly. Patron read. I want to, as always, give thanks to the patrons who make videos like this possible and allow me to experiment with my style more with a video like this, something I definitely would not have been comfortable covering a year ago, for instance. Especially want to thank the patrons who donate $10 or more monthly, such as Messina, Mia Starlight, Stephanie Starfire, Pumpkin, Sam Sycamore, Alex, Issa, Cheesy Cheese, One-Eyed Wiley, Maddie Doman, Dunks Lab, Denise, keep up the good work, you got this, Miss Lavender, Metamaniac, AL, Shang Bouldergrow, Bo Ya, Delaney, Toma, DJ Jax, The Biggest of Men, Babylon Broken, Narcissist Cookbook, Ascobatoon, Spooky Ina, Guybrush, Lynn Payne, M. Coy, Cappy, Lake, Mina, Eva Knight, Panda, Mr. Cococo, Gwen T, Erica, Shay Theus, Gab, Nomad Delilah Jester, Bjorb, Lily Leones, Neris, Sean Hamilton, Voice Mute, Haunted Mystic, Charlotte, Kay, Rio, Laura M, Poof Donut, Femboy Fishing, Atheist, Sylvian Pasco, Joannis, IW, Arda Aurelia, Vega Nelson, Demise, Mia Maple, Nicole, Dennis Vashakamer, Ada Avery, George Rosenbaum, Neurofilter, The Coom Slayer, Summer Celine, Garden of Midnight, David Kaiser, Almost Dead Again, and Darius Fazier. Like I said, I just want to get this done, so rather than do the normal update vlog type thing, I'm out.